Let's be honest, there's no guidebook when it comes to relationships. So we end up having to stumble through life trying to figure things out for ourselves. What if there was a podcast that found the answers for you, that provided insight to build a successful relationship and ultimately find the companionship you've always hoped for? Welcome to the Girls Ask Guys show, where we answer the questions most people are afraid to ask when it comes to lessons in life and love. It's time to master this thing called life together with your hosts, John and Ashley.
And welcome back to the Girls Ask Guys show, 10-Minute Tuesday. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about boundaries. And one of those boundaries that you can have, which is actually kind of a safety factor, is I'm not going to go out and meet you by myself.
Right, which is perfect because we found this app, and it is called Foreplay. Foreplay is a free-to-download double dating app that will not only increase your safety, but also it makes dating a lot more relaxed and a lot less awkward.
Yes, because we have talked about how awkward going out on your first date can be. And if you have a friend there with you and you are doing a double date, this actually can help break that ice and break down that barrier because you have somebody there that you can associate with.
Right. And then, you want to go out and you guys are like, I don't really want to sit and stare at you and eat spaghetti, but we can all go out. We can do some fun nights like trivia, bingo, where you already have a team. So you're already in the mood to have a great time.
Yes. And if for some reason the date doesn't work out, well, you and your friend can actually depart and actually go out and have fun by yourself.
Right. So with Foreplay, it's never a night wasted, and you can always find Foreplay on the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. And if you have any more questions about this app specifically, go ahead and go to foreplaysocial.com.
Yes. And you can also go out to our website where we have a direct link to the Foreplay app and a link directly to foreplaysocial.com itself. With boundaries, one of the boundaries is your own safety. And one of the boundaries that you can actually set for yourself is I'm not going to meet you by myself.
It's really important to know that this boundary is not because you're weird or anything. This boundary is simply for safety. In this day and age, we have a lot of statistics that show that women can be threatened with physical violence. They can be threatened with all kinds of things just by going out on a date. And we don't want that to happen to you. We encourage dating. We encourage going out. We encourage meeting people. But we need to make sure you guys are doing it safely. And I think this app is the perfect alternative to just meeting a stranger.
Just to be clear, when you set up boundaries for yourself and within your relationships, one of the things that it does is it helps you send out the message and it gives you the ability to actually be understood, communicate, and take a stand for how you want to be treated within the relationship.
Absolutely, because you're an adult and you deserve that. You deserve to be treated exactly how you want to be treated. If you want to be treated with respect, dignity, loyalty, and all of those things, you need to establish that. And the only way you can do it is with boundaries. If you don't have boundaries with people, they're going to walk all over you and you're going to end up miserable. And I think it's happened to all of us where we sort of make our boundaries really flexible.
What the boundary does, it helps you and the person that you are seeing or the person you are in a relationship with, whether it's a friend, family member, coworker, or even a romantic partner. It helps everybody understand where you end and where they begin.
And these boundaries aren't to hurt people. These boundaries aren't to hurt feelings. Honestly, if someone's not willing to respect their boundaries, you shouldn't be going out with them in the first place. Let's just be honest. But they also allow you and them to see if you're compatible. Because let's say you have a boundary where, okay, I can't talk after 9. Yeah. And they're like, I can only talk after 9. Well, then we both know there's no sense in us even starting something because even if we become flexible with that boundary of after or before 9, someone's going to be very unhappy.
Right. And the thing to remember is that with boundaries, there is 200% accountability. And this is split evenly. So one person is accountable for their 100%. The other person is accountable for the other 100%. Now, the problem that takes place is that when one person takes too much or accepts too much accountability, then it becomes a codependent relationship.
Yeah.
And if somebody takes too little of it, well, then they become a victim of the relationship itself.
Absolutely. Boundaries ensure that you guys are both very happy. And the boundaries, as you guys grow and get to know each other, will change over time. That's with any relationship. You start out with very tight, before and after 9 boundaries. As you guys see each other more, you start to become more serious. Things are going to change a little bit. But as long as when the boundaries evolve, the respect evolves with it, you should be okay. If you are saying, in these boundaries, as you move in. So let's say you guys are dating, before 9, after 9, you guys start dating, you really like each other, you move in. Obviously, the before 9, after 9 thing isn't in effect anymore, but there's going to be some sleep boundaries in it.
Yeah.
It's that kind of deal where as you evolve in a relationship, the boundaries won't always be the same, but the respect level needs to still be there.
Yeah. And with boundaries, now we've talked in the past about how I don't accept responsibility for how you feel. Now, this is how I'm able to do that. Because when you have clear boundaries, when somebody says something or does something to me, then there's an instant reaction. So if I get upset, our egos, for some reason, have a tendency to make us accept responsibility or be held accountable for their reaction. We take it upon ourselves and we internalize it. What the boundaries do is that it helps you notice that tendency. And when you notice that happening and you realize that, hey, there's a boundary there, it actually gives you more options on how you want to respond to that.
Absolutely. It's very simple. It's a very simple thing. Setting boundaries is nothing more than clear communication. I cannot. I am not willing. I am willing. I will. That is how boundaries start. It's not, let's look at it in the future and we'll see. Boundaries are clear, they're distinct, and they're concise. So if you're going to set a boundary, you need to be all of those things. There's no reason you could say, oh, you know what, let's figure it out when we figure it out. No, this is how it's going to happen.
Now, there's 8 ways that you can actually tell if you do not have clear boundaries set within a relationship. And again, this is any relationship. And one of those is that you feel responsible for how your partner feels. Another one of those is you can't be fully honest with them. So one of their boundaries is they don't want you hanging out at the club after work with your friends. Well, you go out to the club and you drink a little bit too much. You come home and you're either a little bit tipsy, you could be falling over drunk or whatever, and that's going to piss them off. And they're going to ask, what happened? You went to the club. No, I didn't.
Right. No, I had one beer at the bar across the... Right. Like I picked up a beer at the liquor store. And you're clearly lying. And if you don't feel comfortable telling someone the truth, that's when you guys, I wouldn't say break up, but you need to sit down and evaluate your relationship. And if a boundary is crossed, there are some hard boundaries that absolutely will never be crossed. There are some boundaries that when they're crossed, sometimes you can sit down and assess them and say, this is why this happened. How can we ensure it doesn't happen again? And there's some boundaries that are a little more flexible, but you still need to make sure that you're sticking to.
Yeah. The third way of knowing if you don't have a clear set of boundaries is that you actually have a need for your partner to make you happy. They have to be there in order for you to feel happy.
Right.
Another one is you have a persistent resentment towards your partner.
That's so common too.
Yes.
It's incredibly common, and it's unfortunate. And I think what it takes is like listening to a show like this and really kind of just getting down to your mental health and taking care of it and making sure that you're okay. Because if you're not okay, then your relationship's not okay.
Right. And another way of knowing that you don't have clear boundaries is that you have a constant internal drive to anticipate your partner's needs before they even tell you what their needs are.
Yeah.
Oh, their glass is getting half empty. I need to fill it up. Something along those lines. You're constantly anticipating what they want. Another one is you can never say no to your partner. In other words, you're trying to anticipate their needs and you're trying to make them happy so that you feel happy.
Right.
So you're just going to agree to everything. Another one is you can't share your needs with your partner. You feel like you can't open up to them and let them know what you want. And then the last way to know if you don't have boundaries set is that you don't feel like your partner actually respects you. And those are the top 8 ways to know if you do not have firm boundaries set within your relationships.
And if you've answered at least 3 out of these 8 as yes, it's time for you to sit down with your partner and literally tell them, here's what I'm feeling. And if they respond in a way that is completely uncalled for and angry and very visceral and very controlling, then you need to reassess your relationship. If they say, wow, I didn't even know you were feeling that way, because sometimes that happens too, you guys can move on, you can move forward, and you can be happy, and you won't ever have to have this conversation again, because now you know that your partner is a reasonable human being. And I think that's what happens is when you allow those boundaries to be broken or busted open or whatever you want to call it, when you allow that to happen to yourself and you go to your partner and you're like, holy shit, I was just thinking too hard. Sometimes it's as simple as that. You just were afraid, and you should not be afraid of the person who you call your partner.
And like we said, this is something that comes directly out of our course. And this is the lesson that we have on boundaries, because boundaries in relationships, they are hugely important and they spell out for other people. If you want to be with me, this is how I want to be treated. And that's something that everybody needs.
I agree. So don't forget to set out those boundaries, guys. And don't forget about Foreplay. Foreplay is a free app to download in the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. And it helps you set that boundary of, I need to be safe. It helps you communicate to the other person that you take your safety very seriously. You, a friend, them, a friend. You guys go out to karaoke, you go out to bingo. You're ready to have a good time. Worst case scenario, you and your friends hit the town partying. Don't forget, Foreplay is the newest dating app for safety, for boundaries, and just to have a good old time.
This is the official double dating app. And we wouldn't be having them as our sponsor if we didn't think that it actually was a good choice.
You know us.
And with that, we will talk to you on the next one.
That's all for this episode of the Girls Ask Guys show, where all of us learn to master this thing called life together. For more answers to your questions on life and love, be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss a single episode. And head to girlsaskguyshow.com to submit your questions for a future episode or apply to be a guest on the show. Good luck out there, and we'll catch you next time, right here on the Girls Ask Guys show.